love to talk about their occupation because a lot of our worth is what we do, right? So that would be a good conversation starter. People love to talk about themselves, so that is just a tip that you can use. Acknowledge things of interest. Again, if you see family pictures on the wall or artwork, you can kind of see the things that they're into. Being a good listener, which of course means making eye contact, good body language, open body language, making sure that you appear friendly with your demeanor, giving indications that you're listening, nodding your head, just kind of those basic skills that we should have and use. Okay, one of the most important things about giving Bible studies is being a fruit inspector. Okay, and this is what I mean, being a fruit inspector. And of course, the Bible tells us you shall know them by their fruits. And so in order to be a good fruit inspector, we need to be able to analyze when a certain study interest is ripe fruit or green fruits. And the reason is, if you've ever picked fruit, I grew up in upstate New York, and one of our favorite things to do as a family, as soon as it got to the spring, when the strawberries and the peaches and everything started coming out, or if it was the fall when those nice apples and grapes started coming out, we would go to farms where we'd pick our own fruit. And one thing you'll know is when you have some ripe fruit, it almost drops right off the vine, right into your hand. You just give it a little tug, boom, you got it. It's big, it's juicy, it's colorful. You got a good piece of fruit. But if you ever see a piece that's not quite ripe, first of all, it doesn't look as developed, but then you're having to tug at it, pull at it. And if you do get it, you're not even left with a good piece of fruit. And what's happening in the meantime when you're yanking it off? The good fruit's falling off, and the good fruit can fall to the ground and spoil. So you're trying so hard to get this ripe fruit, and the good fruit is spoiling in the meantime. And even when you get the ripe fruit, you say, well, I can't eat it anyway. I just wasted the good fruit, and I wasted this. We wasted everything. All right, so we have to be fruit inspectors when it comes to souls. Now, what do I mean by that? Certain people are what we call ripe fruits. They are ready for Bible studies. They're ready to come to a prophecy seminar. These would be characterized as people that manifest an earnest desire to seek and find Bible truth. Hopefully that list we have some good fruit on there. Now I'll tell you right now, not all of them will be ripe fruits, but it's probably a better ratio than just going to doors colds, because these are people that have reached out to Amazing Facts. They've already shown some level of interest. Okay, so they show a desire to seek and find Bible truth. They accept the Bible studies. They complete the Bible studies weekly. So every week where you come back, they have their studies completed. That is a huge sign of ripe fruits. All right, people that are lonely, unhappy, dissatisfied with your lives, they can actually be ripe fruits. Why do you think that is? Yeah, they're looking for something new or something better. A lot of times the people that are doing very well, that maybe make a lot of money, they have the really nice car, nothing wrong with that, but they have a tendency to feel more satisfied, right? Like, okay, thank you, I'm good, right? So sometimes people going through a hardship are more open, or along those lines feel a need for change, or dissatisfied with their church is a big one. These are examples of ripe fruits. All right, so what about more ripe fruit? They don't belong to a church, or they're backsliding. I was in Dryden, Virginia. I'm doing a meeting there in July, and we did the same thing. We did the training, and we went at 2 by 2 with the church members, and I had my list, and me and a young lady went to visit some people on the list. One of the houses we came up to was a lady. It was a beautiful day, just like today, and they were sitting in lawn chairs on the yard. And so we said, hey guys, how you doing? And I'll just be a moment. We're here to see Susie Smith or whatever. And she said, that's me. And you know how people are a little bit skeptical of you when you walk onto their property, right? So just be positive. Say something like, hey, just a quick moment. I'm just here to see this person. Just don't fret too much if they look very disappointed. And so what we noticed is that this lady was a former member at the church. I didn't realize that until we left, and the person that was with me told me. She was a former member, and she was surrounded by people that were not in the church. They were having like a cookout or something like that. And I could tell like they were kind of like, dude, get out of here. We don't want to talk about the Bible or something. She was open. She said, yeah, that's me. And I explained how the studies work, and I'll tell you what you can say at the door in a second. Something like, hey, we just saw your request for Bible studies. I just came by to drop these off to you and tell you how they work. You fill out the back page. All the questions, the answers are taken directly from the Bible. You can learn your Bible better like never before. It's completely free. We drop off the 2 studies. Next week, we'll bring the next 2. And is that something you'd like to try? And she said, yes. And I found that very impressive because a lot of times when people are surrounded by others that are not open, they will feel pressure to say, oh, no, I'm good. She said, yes. And so I told my partner, I said, that's ripe fruit. She's a former member. In front of everybody, she said yes. And she didn't just try to shake us off. She was kind of happy about it, right? So you want to look for those signs. And the reason you want to look for those signs is you don't want to waste too much time with ripe fruits. I'm sorry, with green fruits. You don't want to waste too much time with green. And I'll tell you what you can do with green fruit in just a minute. So let's talk about green fruit. People that usually refuse Bible studies, they often did not have them completed on time. They make excuses over and over. Oh, I've been so busy this week, this and that. They don't accept the clear teachings of Scripture. They're deeply involved and committed in their own church. Doesn't necessarily mean they won't be open, but those are maybe a tougher nut to crack if they're very involved in their own church. Or it could be a good sign because it shows that they're very committed Christians. So that one could go either way. They talk badly about your lesson, your church, your doctrines. That's obviously a sign of potentially green fruits. Friendly, but they won't make any commitments. Okay, so that is an example. Now, I want to add something to this that is not an example of green fruit. If you're studying with someone and you study a testing truth, for example, like the Sabbath, and they're giving you a lot of objections, they're even getting a little bit emotional, a little bit angry, a little bit like, no, this verse, this, what about this, what about this? That could be very ripe fruit, believe it or not. And I know that because that's what I was. I was arguing hard when I learned about the Sabbath, when I learned about hell. Why? If you're going to ask me to change my life completely, turn my life upside down, this better be right. And so if they're pressing you, don't run from that. That shows interest. That shows conviction. And that was something I want to stress because there were people in the Adventist church when I came in that said, you're just not open. You just want to argue. In my mind, I'm thinking, let me have it. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'm ready to change my whole life around. But you better have an answer to these objections. Are you with me? See, we grow up in the church. We don't realize the sacrifice that it takes for people to join the church. For those of us, some of you may not have grown up in the church. I didn't. And so we have to be sensitive to that. We have to realize some people are going to come in smooth. Some people are going to come in kicking and screaming. All right? And we have to be ready and patient to deal with them. All right? So along those lines, be careful how we present yourself to others. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen some evangelists and speakers. Not so much evangelists. Evangelists tend to be a little better with this. But sometimes if you see an Adventist pastor that grew up in the church, I'm not going to say any names, but they can almost come across as proud and demeaning to people that believe differently. They can almost be snide in their remarks, kind of like, they believe that the dead can speak to them. What kind of foolishness is that? There's a lack of sensitivity. But we have to give people the benefit that they are a sincere Christian that loves the Lord, that will follow the truth when it's revealed to them. We have to give them that benefit of the doubt. Because if we don't, it's going to turn them off. It's not a good representation of Christ. So beware of interrupting or trying to appear superior. Never demonstrate a lack of interest or having other priorities. Okay, so be there for the person, be ready to listen, be careful of negative reactions or breaking confidence. I'll tell you an example that happened to me. Is I was studying with a pastor. This one I was a very young Bible worker. I think I was like 22 or something, and I was studying with a pastor. So I was like, here we go. I'm going to bring out the big guns. I want to get the pastor on board and get his whole church over, right? And so I'm studying with a pastor. It's going great. He's excited about the lessons. I'm coming every week. And then one day we get to, it was either the Sabbath or the change of the Sabbath. And so usually that's the one, a lot of times that'll be the roadblock, right? As soon as you get to the Sabbath, then they'll argue. And so I was studying with a pastor, and he said something to the effect of, well, this is good. That's good for you, I understand, but I keep Sunday because of the resurrection. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for that. I know how to answer that. So I looked at him dead in the eye. I said, Pastor, can you show me where it tells us that in the Bible? Where it tells us to keep Sunday as the resurrection. And that was like my gotcha moment, right? Because I knew he'd find nothing. And let me tell you, friends, I believe that was the last time I ever studied with him. Now, was I right? I was totally right. But the way that I presented it was wrong. It made him feel very foolish. It made him embarrassed. Now, there may be another situation where you have a close friend that you have that relationship built. Maybe you're a similar age. You can say, hey, you keep Sunday in the resurrection. I hear you. I used to do that too. But tell me, where is that in the Bible? And the other person might say, you know what? You're right. So I'm not saying those words were wrong. I'm saying every situation is unique. You have to be led by the Holy Spirit, and you have to be careful not to needlessly offend. Are you with me? So in that case, I was a very young man. This was a very older, established pastor. I probably shouldn't have spoken to him like that. Are you with me? Maybe if I was his age and maybe him and I were best buddies, maybe that same sentence would have worked. So you have to, the bottom line is be respectful, be kind. Don't be needlessly offensive. The Bible is offensive enough, right? In terms of the Bible will cut on its own. You don't want to add extra blades on the side of it to cut people more. But it's a balance because you also want to be straight and clear. Okay, so speaking without words, again, eye contact, good body positioning. Ask friendly questions, assume nothing, encourage more sharing, smile, be excited and passionate. If you weren't excited, your study friend won't be either. The idea here is that we don't want to be in a position where we're just telling them what to believe. We want to facilitate them learning for themselves. So what do you think about this verse? How do you think that applies to your life? Let them be the one that is really directing their own learning. All right, asking questions is great. Encouraging them to share. And believe in what you're saying. Believe in the beauty. So these Bible studies that we're talking about now, you may not do that much talking. You may just show up at the door. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? Did you have your Bible study completed from last week? Praise the Lord. Let's take a quick look at it. Okay, you did great on these questions. There's one that we should take a closer look at. So what really happened when, who really wrote the Ten Commandments? Was it Moses or was it God? I noticed you have Moses here. Let's take a quick look at that verse. God wrote with his own finger. Okay, so do you see it now? Okay, praise the Lord. Okay, that's very important because we need to know that God wrote the Ten Commandments and not man. So you may not say a lot, but when you do talk, of course, you want to build that relationship. You want to be friendly and build trust with that person. And there's another thing that I wanted to share with it. Yes, be enthusiastic about the message we have. There's a quote of Ellen White. It goes something to this effect. She was saying that there are actors, actors in movies or plays. Back then, I think it was more plays. She says there are actors that speak of things that are not real as if they are. And at the same time, we have pastors and preachers who speak of things that are real as if they are not. She's saying that's backwards. We're here preaching of things that are real, sharing things that are real. We should believe it. There should be a gleam in our eye. There should be a level of enthusiasm and excitement that we are sharing the truth. So it doesn't mean you have to get all crazy or just, have that attitude that you are sharing precious gold with these people. And have that confidence as you're going to doors. Don't be bashful, like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to bother you. No, you have the greatest truth in the world that can transform their life. So be confident as you go to the doors. All right, use your student's name frequently. Of course, they say people's favorite word is their own name. Speak clearly. Don't be monotone. Vary your voice according to what you're saying. Don't shout in delicate moments. Be a good listener. These are just practical, everyday communication tips. All right, go to your neighbors one by one. Come close to them until their hearts are warmed by your unselfish interest and love. Sympathize with them. Pray for them. Watch for opportunities to do them good. And as you can, gather a few together and open the Word of God to their darkened minds. Okay, this covers the question you asked, so we don't have to spend too much time on this. What happens if they ask me a question that we will cover in a future lesson? Is everybody comfortable with what to say if that happens? You essentially say, that's a very good question. We are going to have a whole lesson on that subject and a little later on. If you don't mind, can we discuss it more thoroughly at that time? All right, so you don't want to, again, spill the sauce too early. What if they have a question that you don't know the answer to? What should you do in that case? Should you make something up to make yourself look smarter so they have confidence in you?
Be honest.
Yeah, be honest. Say, hey, that's a wonderful question. I'll be honest with you. I am not sure right now, but I will look in the Bible and I'll try to have an answer for you next week. Or, let's say you do know the answer, or if you don't, you can kind of make it look like you do. But this is what you can do. That's a wonderful question. Open up a concordance. Do you have a Bible concordance you can ask them? Or you can say, even online, they have Bible concordances. Look for every time the Bible uses the word death or sleep or heaven. And study it out. And when I come next week, let me know what you find. Now, that's even more powerful because they've discovered it for themselves. Okay, so that's just a strategy you can use if they ask you a question that you don't know. But there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I don't know. Let's look in the Bible and let's find an answer. Okay. It's a good question. I'm not sure. All right, so kind of an overview. One other thing that I didn't have on this that I need to tell you about. Devil's rabbits. You know what a devil's rabbit is? All right, you want to tell us what a devil's rabbit is? I see as soon as I said it, you nodded your head real big, so I want to hear your definition.
Maybe John's also.
John Tall knows what they are.
I'll let John Tall back check me on this one, just in case,
Okay.
because she used to be at Cole Porter work, right? So,
Oh, she knows about devil's
so
rabbits.
ran into a few before where you go to their door, you begin to talk to them about it, the lessons, and they'll engage and they'll talk, and they'll mosey from topic to topic, never really trying to settle or learn, but just to keep you occupied, to keep you talking, to try to talk you into circles, wasting your time, basically, with never intention to ever actually engage with you.
Yeah.
With the
that's a
study or
perfect-
anything like that.
Yeah, you said it probably better than I can. That's a perfect definition. And, it's tempting, just like a rat. Well, I don't know for you guys, but when I was a little boy, it's tempting to chase a rabbit. Because you're, maybe I can catch it. You're not going to catch a rabbit. And so it's tempting, devil's rabbits, like he shared, someone that wants to talk your head off. And it's tempting because it's like, wow, I'm doing ministry work. This person isn't slamming the door on me. They actually want to talk. But they're not really going anywhere. It's just running in circles. In the meantime, you have people that are interested in Bible studies that are waiting. And if you talk to this person so long, you may miss knocking on their door or giving them their study. Or you may miss getting home and getting to bed on time and loving your family because this person wants to talk about everything under the sun. And so it's a balance, right? Earlier I said show interest in what they have interest in. So it's okay to connect, but I think all of us kind of have a meter in our mind that's like, okay, this conversation is going too long. All right? And so how do you get out of that? The way that I like to get out of that is say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I have other homes that have asked for Bible studies that I have to visit. I have to run, but can I have a prayer with you? Right? It's harder to get mad at someone when they offer to have a prayer with you. Right? Right? And at least you have an excuse. You have something important that you have to run. So I think people will be satisfied if you give an answer like that, to get away from a devil's rabbit. All right. Any other questions before we sum this up? Yes.
So we're going and we're first going to use the FORT method. You might be getting to this on your next slide, but first going to use the FORT method to build a relationship with these people. And then after that, we're going to then introduce the concept that we have their contact information because of an interest that they showed.
Yes.
Or
That's a great question. Thank you for clarifying. So I should have specified earlier, the FORT method is more so after we've already established a Bible study and we're going back to visit them again. Okay, the first visit, there's really 3 things people are wanting to know from you immediately. Who you are, why you're there, and what's the third one? How long are you going to be there? I think those are the 3. I was hoping somebody would remind me because I drew a blank. But essentially, they need to know who you are and why you're here and what do you want. Okay, so we want to keep this first visit pretty clean and quick. We don't have to probably be thinking of, hey, where were you born and what's your interest? They are just going to want to know why you're here. That would be more for like a future, the next time we visit them or something. As you see, they're more open to talking. So thank you for asking. Really, this is kind of more so what we're going to be doing. Hello, my name is Dustin. I'm with Amazing Facts. All of us can say that I'm with Amazing Facts because Amazing Facts has given us their list of leads. So you are all officially an ambassador for Amazing Facts. You may not get paid for it, but you can ethically say that you're with Amazing Facts. And that's helpful because that helps to avoid which church are you from. Now, people might still ask that, but at least if you say, I'm with Amazing Facts, we're just an organization that gives Bible studies. Because you don't want the which church are you from. Because what that does is it puts up roadblocks, and a lot of people will just disqualify you right away. Now that I bring that up, what should you say? Any ideas?
If they ask about the church.
Yeah.
Well, I've encountered that here. It's worked out to say, I'm from Three Angels Church of Owasso.
Okay. Okay.
That it's worked out to say I'm from Three Angels Church of Owasso.
Okay.
And that, because a lot of churches here just have names like that.
Yeah.
So,
I kind of like that. Now, I'm not saying there's a hard and fast rule. Unfortunately, this is one that has kind of shifted over the years. When I was first trained as a Bible worker, I read a book called Winsome Witnessing by Gary Gibbs. Great book. I highly recommend that book. He's very clear of how to deal with that. But that book was written maybe 15 years ago or something like that. And he says something like, I belong to a church that I'm very proud of. But these Bible studies, but for now, I don't want to focus on denominationalism. I'd rather focus on what the Bible teaches. And he basically skirts around it, trying to use very careful words. And that's what I used to do. But I found out some people, they just get mad at that. And they say, they think you're dancing around, and they say, come on. It almost makes you look like you're hiding something. Right. Depending on how you say it. Maybe some people can say it a little smoother, so it's not as bad. But what I do, I like what you said. I think that might be maybe the best solution, is just say Three Angels Church in Owasso, even though we're in Collinsville. But yeah, Three Angels Church. Oftentimes what I will say is I will never offer it up because I never want to put an obstacle in people's path. Even Ellen White says, don't feel you have to say, I keep the Sabbath, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, because that'll create barriers. So I don't offer it. But if someone asks me directly, I'll just answer directly. I say, I attend the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Have you heard of that? And so you answer it confidently, boldly, and then you ask them, have you heard of that? Or, because that gives them that gives you an opportunity to assess how they feel about it. And a lot of times people will say, oh, I heard about it a little, or I had an aunt, or, what is that? What do y'all believe? Right? So it's just more of a positive thing. Leslie, you had a comment on that?
Well, I have found that in our community, many people know about our church through the Christmas Symphony.
Okay.
So sometimes when they ask, I said, the Three Angels Church, have you come to the Christmas Symphony in Owasso? Oh, yes. So, that has really helped us a lot.
Lovely.
Because people are already familiarized with our church in some sense.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. And that's a huge deal, because that is a big factor when I come to do a meeting at the church. What is the church's reputation in the community? And it sounds like y'all have a fairly positive one with the Christmas program. So yeah, that's a great strategy then. Very good. So this is just a sample script. You can take a picture of this with your phone, but you don't have to say this verbatim. You just want to be natural at the door. I would say something like, hello, my name is Dustin. I'm with Amazing Facts. Is Susan available? Hi, Susan. I saw that you recently requested Bible studies, and I just dropped by to quickly share a new free Bible study guide with you. All right, quickly, right? Because it helps people to know you're not going to be there for too long. Is that something you'd be interested in? Now, when you ask if that's something you're going to be interested in, which one of these would you be more likely to agree to? Is that something you'd be interested in? Or is that something you'd be interested in? Right? So it's a subtle body language. And when I was a coal porter, they would even say to nod your head when you're asking a question. Yeah, it's just you're showing. It's almost like you're indicating if you're smart, you're going to say yes because this is something great I have to offer, right? It's just showing confidence in what you have. So try to have that positive body language, and then explain how they work. The way these studies work is I drop off 2 Bible studies each week, and I return the same time next week with the next 2. You read the studies and complete the short quiz in the back. Would this time next week work well for you? All right, so that's just a simple script, something that you can say. You can modify it a little bit, but this is the main gist of what you would be saying. All right, any questions on any of this so far? Yes.
I'm sorry. Normally, I've seen that we do 1 a week, but 2 would be. I guess as far as timeline with when we have the evangelistic series.
Yeah, it can be done either way.
Okay.
We can modify this whatever we think is best for a church. So our meetings are going to be in September. So that gives us May, June, July, August, 4 months times 2. Or 4 months times 4 weeks, that's 16, 32. I would probably recommend 2. That would allow people to get through the full series before the meetings actually start.
Right.
And the idea is you want them to do it on their own. So I would start with 2, and if the person is having trouble, you could kind of go down to 1 potentially. That would be my recommendation. But if you guys decide you want to do 1, that's okay as well. All right, good question. All right, any other questions? Yes.
Yeah. Did these people express interest at the Christmas Symphony, or where?
It's 2 amazing facts.
No, I'm asking, where did we get these people's names? When
Yeah,
did we get their names?
yeah, that's a good question. So this is a list that was generated by Amazing Facts, and these are all the people that have reached out to Amazing Facts for either most of them are Bible study guides. Some it could be for a free offer, and so not all of them are fresh leads. You may go to certain doors looking for Susie, and Susie doesn't live there anymore. But you're there for a reason. Maybe that was a divine appointment to meet Johnny, who is there. You say, well, Johnny, I just want to, while I'm here, I'd love to tell you about what I have to offer. And then you can tell that to Johnny. And a lot of times that person that you weren't even intending to visit agrees to do the Bible studies. Yeah, so good question.
Do we tell them that we're going to grade their quizzes weekly and give them back? Or?
Yes, yes. So the way that it would work is you give them the Bible study guides and you let them know that you're going to come a week later to review the quiz in the back and give them the next Bible study guides. So you would want to grade. You could either rip off the back and like take it with you, but I think the best way to do it is just grade it on the spot when you visit them. That way you can give them immediate feedback and you don't have to worry about extra papers floating around. You can just grade it right there. So, good question. Now, so we are, yes.
Just
Sure. Yeah, so one thing is that we are asking for a commitment here. So I don't want to breeze over this. The number one factor that I have discovered in the success of evangelistic meetings, and my evangelist friends from Amazing Facts will all agree to this, is the pre-work. You could have the best speaker in the world. We could have Billy Graham in here. And the truth of the matter is, if the pre-work is not done, you will have nothing to reap. You cannot reap what you don't sow. And so I've seen it before, friends. I've gone to a church, we've had tons of baptisms, and the church already had people they were working with. And so when I came to preach, it was like I was just guiding them through, calling them to a decision, baptized. But when we're dealing with fresh people, even if you get a good crowd, if they're all new, it's not going to be the same. Because if that's their first exposure to the truth, they often will not be ready to make a decision. And so this is the critical part of the meetings right now. And so this is a commitment. I don't want to gloss over this. If we drop off these Bible studies, we have to be ready to follow them up. Are you with me? So I would ask that you prayerfully and generously think about what is the realistic time commitment that I can give on a weekly basis. For some people, that could be a Tuesday and a Sabbath. For some people, that could be a Tuesday, a Thursday, and a Sabbath. For some people, that might just be, Sabbath afternoons after potluck. That after potluck, I'm going to go out for 2 hours, and I'm going to follow up my 3 or 4 leads, and that's all I can honestly commit to. And that's between you and God, but I would ask at a minimum, my appeal would be to at least have Sabbath afternoon, to follow up these Bible study leads. Because after we drop these off, we'll need you to bring the study back to them, right? So just want to be clear about what is involved here. And so in addition to the weekly visits, all of us need to be thinking about 5 people in our circle of influence. Because these people on this list, these are people that have already requested Bible studies, but God has also given you people that you deal with on a regular basis. The people at your school, the people at your work, your neighbors, your friends. And God is calling you to reach out to them. So there's really 2 groups that each of us are working with, our circle of influence and then our Bible study leads. All right? Okay, so any other questions about this? Anything we've discussed?
Dustin?
Yes.
Something, not a question for you, but for everybody. So we have grade books for the Amazing Facts Bible studies that have been created for the mailing school. They mail the lessons here, we grade them and mail them back. So we can have those available if anyone is unsure how to answer the questions. Like if you go to pick up a lesson from someone and you're planning on grading it on the spot, there's a grade book here that you can review before you go, so you'll know what the answers are supposed to be. Ideally, you know what it's supposed to be because you know the topic, but if you are unsure what the question from the lesson is, we have 4, I think, or maybe 5 grade books in the office that I can make available to everybody to review so you know what the answer is.
All right, very good. Thank you. Okay, so we're almost ready to pray and then break off into groups. I think we've already separated the names and everything. I need to ask this, though. Can I ask, just so I have an idea, I assume, but I don't want to wrongly assume, that everyone here is at the minimum willing to go out today, number one, and is willing to follow up any potential leads we get, at least on Sabbath afternoons. Am I right to make that assumption? No. No.
Yeah, we're gone all next month, so.
Okay. Well, for you, that just wouldn't be possible because you already have prior plans. So I understand if it's literally impossible. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be waiting for you to come back. But do we have a commitment, though, at least from the majority of here, unless we have like a prior trip or something, to at least follow up on Sabbaths so that the context we get today, we can continue to bring those studies to them? Is this group here comfortable doing that?
If you guys go out and people are interested, we can divvy it up.
Follow up in a month.
I would not want to deprive you of what we're gonna do today.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're worried about not being able to follow up. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yep. So what I have found in the past, and every time is different, but what I have found in the past is when a group of 2 goes out, and we'll give you a list of maybe 4 or 5 homes to visit, and I think they're going to be kind of grouped in a particular area, so you're not having to drive to Oklahoma City, back to Tulsa. It's kind of around in one area. In the time that you visit today, which you might only be knocking on doors for an hour, hour and a half, it won't be long, you may find 2 or 3 people that are interested in continuing with Bible studies. All right, so you can imagine if we have several groups, we can, by God's grace, find some Bible studies today. And so we just need to make sure we have people that are willing to bring those studies next week to them. Yes.
After several visits, I suppose at some point, if these continue in regular, how long, or how long before the meetings do we kind of drop an invitation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say, and I'll be in contact with you as the months go on to kind of strategize for that, but the invitation, it starts off with just kind of an announcement like, hey, by the way, we have something big coming up. And so at first it's kind of, you're just letting them know about it. I would say to do that at least a month out, maybe even 2 months out. I'll kind of get back to you to think about that a little bit longer, but I'm glad you asked that because that's really a huge goal of these studies, is for the people to come to the meetings. I would say 2 months out, you want to start at least mentioning it, and then as you get closer, you want to keep talking about it and say like, these studies are a preparation for the big Bible series that we have. And then eventually y'all will have flyers that you can give to them. But I would say about maybe 2 months out to start mentioning it. All right, very good. Any other questions or thoughts? Yeah, we have a long list, but yeah. Yes.
So a couple questions.
Yes.
The first one might have been already alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has a question on the previous week's studies and you go to drop off the next week's studies, is that the time to stay and answer their questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely would be the time to do that.
Okay.
Is right when you visit them about that study. Hey, did you have any questions on this?
Mm-hmm.
And even ask them, because what we don't want to do is just get people that are doing Bible studies and not making a decision. So, I noticed this week was about, lifestyle and health. And I see that you check that you can see that pork and lobster is an abomination and is forbidden. How do you think that'll affect your life? What decisions do you plan to make based on what you've studied? And so kind of encouraging them to make the connection between what they're studying and actually what they're doing. And so kind of appealing to them to follow what they're learning. So as you go through these, there's only so much you can do at the door, but the goal is eventually you want to become less of a mailman and more of a evangelist. You follow me? So at first you're just a mailman, right? Like today we're mailmen. We're mailmen for God. But then hopefully by week 3 or 4, we're starting to almost be like their own personal evangelist. We're calling them to decisions. We're getting to know them more. We have trust built up. And so by the time you get to topics like the Sabbath we want to help them apply that to their own life and kind of help them see the importance of following what they're learning. But we don't really have that credibility built up with them yet. So we kind of start off just as mailmen, but then we gradually build. So good question. All right, any other questions? Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to learn everybody's names eventually. I'm sorry if I don't know your name yet. Carrie, all right. Terry, okay. Yes, Terry.
So I've done this in the past with
Yes.
we have here as the church dropping off the lessons. But I don't remember that we actually, when we dropped off the next ones, so we take the sheet where their answers are and you actually go over those while you're standing at the door
I would.
and see what their answers were to each question.
I would.
Okay,
yeah, I would.
that was something we hadn't done before.
Yeah, I mean,
or
there's
I
no-
hadn't done before.
There's no perfect way. That's just what I've seen it done before, and I recommend it because you get to, just answer any questions right away and deal with it right there. You don't have to worry about taking it home and grading, because you can grade it pretty quick. That would be my recommendation. Yes, good question. Okay, so yes, we'll take a couple quick ones, but also we probably need to hit the road because it is 2:45. The meeting, if anybody's able to go to the meeting down at Tulsa SDA, that's at 5:30. We still have time. What I would recommend is to see if you can visit everyone on your list. That might take an hour and a half, hour and a half. So you won't be out too long today. We're not going to give you a huge list. But yes, a couple more quick questions. Yes.
Yeah, if the person just totally fails the quiz, do you give them the next week's, or do you make them repeat it? Or
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't seen that too often, but there could be examples where somebody totally fails the quiz. You might offer to, hey, can we sit down sometime and take a look at this? Because someone who totally fails a quiz, they may be more open to like sitting down with you, because they might need some help. So good question, yeah.
So for anyone who hasn't done the Amazing Facts Bible studies, the questions sometimes have more than one answer, and there's a little number with brackets around it.
Oh, yeah.
That tells you how many answers there are for each question. So what we found initially, John Tall and I did when we were sending lessons to Cynthia, she would give one answer when there were 3 available. And so we had to explain to her, there's 3 answers here, that's what that number means.
That's a good point, because
So-
most times you see multiple choice, there's only one.
You're right.
So these are kind of weird
Yeah,
that
so-
sometimes there's 3.
It'd
So
be-
you might want to explain that to the person.
Yeah, it might be
Hey.
helpful for you to go through the lesson too.
Yeah, very good. Okay, yes, Chantal.
So for people who are like really busy throughout the day, but they can give time to the study, but they don't really want to have like a sit down,
Yes.
go over it together.
Yeah.
Would it be something that could they mail in the study or the answers, and then we can mail it back to them?
It's a
Like
good
with
question.
Cynthia.
It's a good question, and that's one of the reasons we're doing drop-offs. Is it's less commitment, it's less intimidating initially, not only for us but for the student. Usually, I found people are willing to at least meet you at your door and talk for a couple minutes, but there may be people that are just totally like, listen, I'm always on the run. I'm going to be out of town for 2 weeks. We're kind of giving the standard way to do it, but you can also always modify as God leads. So there's no like hard and fast rule. But I would say as much as humanly possible, we want as much human interaction as possible. So push for more human interaction. If it's one of those unique situations that you just can never get a hold of the person, but they truly want to keep doing the studies, you can make an adjustment. But I wouldn't offer that necessarily unless you really see that would be the best fit. Because it's hard to build relationships with people if we never see them. So, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would use your judgment with that. Like, there's some people that I visited on day 1 that I can just tell that would be weird if I asked for their number. They're not, I'm not there with them yet. But if you make a good connection with someone and you feel you have, as humans, we know when we kind of vibe with somebody, right? And we know when kind of there's a connection. If you feel that they'd be open to giving you their number, then that would be good, because then you can make sure you meet up with them and stuff. But if it's being the first visit today, we may not be able to do that with everybody. Just use your best judgment. So good question. Okay, so I guess what we'll do now, this is just kind of a summary. Oh, did I? Okay, has this been on for the whole time before? No, we were just talking. Oh, okay. Well, we're pretty much ready for that slide. I was just going to say, you can actually keep that slide up, Alfonso. I'm done. I just want to make sure that you guys have been seeing what I was saying. But we're going to go out now, teams of 2. One person leads, the other person is a silent prayer partner. You can rotate, and we've done our best, the church has done the best to try to put the less experienced with a more experienced person. If you're really scared, this is like way out of your comfort zone, you're just stepping out in faith, Lord, I don't want to do this, but I'm here because I want to follow you. Don't feel pressured to say anything at the door. I'm just glad you're here. You might just want to listen to the other person lead, and maybe at the last door, maybe you try, or maybe you don't. But just, take baby steps. But the idea is one person is more the leader, the other person is a prayer partner. Again, the goal is drop off 2 studies, set the date for next week, and we can't do this week, but at some point I'd love to hear your testimonies. I'd love to hear how today goes. Maybe we can do that over Zoom or something like that, but make sure that you write down notes for the homes you visit. On the paper you gave, make sure you have a pen that just says, not home, or talk to Susie, Bible studies, 4 o'clock on Saturdays. Okay, something that it's clear what happened at that door. All right? Very good. So I think that's all that I have, if anybody else has anything. We will have a prayer. We will get into teams of 2, and then we will go. All right. Does everybody know what they're doing?
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
Pastor has a...
We need to divide up into teams, or assign, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, we will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that now, I guess, and then we can pray after we're in teams.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
So
if we put up that slide, yeah, okay, so this map shows the contacts that are, not all of them, there's a whole bunch down in Tulsa, so that's not on here, but this is more or less the people we thought we could get to today in the time frame we had. So this is just today's effort, hopefully. So there are 10 teams here, A through I. And so you can see there's, they're clustered around the church. The church is sort of in the center there. The church is not shown, actually. It's right around just between A and B.
okay.
Yeah, I think. But anyway, yeah, so basically about 3 to 4 people, or contacts per team, except for the ones that are like further apart, maybe 2.
That makes sense.
Yeah, if it's way out, quite a ways out. And so let's see, I've got a spreadsheet here. This is the spreadsheet, but it's divided up into the teams like A, B, C, and so forth. And so what we need to do is figure out which team goes to who would want to sign up. So like Sky took out there. We could take Sky took, or
There's 3 then, right?
there's the one is a PO box.
Oh,
That's that one that's not marked.
and these
It's
ones
PO box. So
are these PO boxes, or are those legit?
no, they're further out,
Okay,
further
so-
away.
Okay, so you didn't focus on them for today.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll need to get to all these, I guess, eventually. Yeah. So there's a total of 243 names, I think.
Yeah. But a lot of those are Tulsa, right? So-
Right.
Okay.
Most of those are Tulsa and Bartlesville and places like that. So I think you did anything within 26 miles of Collinsville?
The report is 25-mile radius of the church.
Okay. All right. So what happened to our? that's the thing we're going to have to figure out after today, how we're going to divvy those up. If people want to take those here, we can do that. We could,
I would probably recommend, just like you're doing, is focus on the ones closer, and maybe the Tulsa ones, notify the Tulsa churches
yeah,
about that. And
sure.
I'll be totally honest, like the leads we follow up today, we might have some good ones, we might have some dead ones. So if we visit these and there are not a lot of good, solid leads, we can do potentially like a Facebook. I know you had Facebook ads for studies. It might be good to do another round of those to get some good active studies. So the bottom line is we work, we see what we get, and then we adjust.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's all 243.
Yeah. So maybe just these ones can be the Tulsa, we can notify those churches down there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And some of these you'll recognize, there are Adventists actually on this list, on the other list. I recognize names, from Tulsa. And that's fine. They may need outreach, or they may be. Yeah, so what do we do if nobody's home? I guess we'll just go back to those names later, right? Yeah.
If no one's home, yeah, you can just make a note when
Right.
you visit, and then visit them another time.
Okay, and on this list that we're going to give you here, it has their enrollment date. So that's the date that Amazing Facts, I guess, received the enrollment. So there's going back 2025, 2024, 2023, and so forth. And so a couple, one 2026. Okay, so if Ruth and I could take SkyTech there, and then, what's it? Jay, right. Who would like to take, probably based on where you live, like Collinsville there, A, that's the closest to the church and north of the church. You want to do that?
Okay.
Or B, either A or B.
So Collinsville. Okay. Okay. So you guys are going to do A.
To give out to each one of us, because I have mine, but I only have 30 names.
Oh, okay, that's the
mine's
32.
Okay, so we have A covered. Does anyone live or plan to go out or is willing to go out to Skiatook? Kind of. Okay. Okay, you guys are going to do J. Okay. And then so we have A covered. We have J covered.
So who's doing A? I mean, Angie. Okay. So and you're going to do B. Okay. All right.
Okay, you guys have B. All right, great. And is anybody up there near?
Inola Ulaga. Ulaga.
Up near the lake there,
Yeah.
Ulaga. We don't have any members up there near Ulaga?
No, not really.
Okay. You're going to take G? E, okay. So we. I or C. Are you guys kind of up closer there? Oh, you're in Skiatook. Ah.
Hey, Terry, could you take one of like D or I? Because I know D is out kind of towards you.
Yeah.
She's to the side.
Okay.
D. Okay.
actually says an enrollment date here.
Oh, no, problem, but they may be open to it. Yeah.
Yeah, C.
What we talking, which one? C?
One, two. Now, I'll definitely go out today, but
Oh.
I need to be with someone who's going to be able to do it next time.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I can go out with John Top. Oh, we still need F, G, and H? Okay. Alfonso said he was going to, which one did he say he was going to do?
He,
Oh,
Alfonso, which one are you doing? G?
E.
E.
Okay, so we need F, G, and H. Now H isn't, does anybody live down there near H?
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. There's Sperry. I don't know if she's.
Charlotte sounds like,
H.
Oh, you're stealing my partner now. Okay, I see. No, that's okay. That's good. Yeah, John Talos has experience. I can just go with a team of two or something. I'll go with whoever. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We still need F, G, and H. And F is closest to the church, right? F, I would think F would be the easiest one.
F or G, they're right down in Owasso there.
Yeah, F and G.
Yeah, they're both close together.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a group.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that makes sense because even if you take two groups initially, it's unlikely that all of those people are going to want to keep doing studies.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
H is Sperry and in South Owasso,
Okay.
down further. So we could, it would be probably better to do the,
Now, another option is if there's a letter left that no one is able to visit today, I can go there and I can see if I can start the studies and then I'll bring back a report and then one of the other groups can take them.
Sure.
Because, especially if it's close to the church.
Yeah.
Like I think, H, the only thing with H is that one would have me driving a ways.
Yes, right.
And I got to be down at Tulsa.
Yeah, that's right.
Is E still open? Or is that the one that,
Yeah, Alfonso took E.
oh yeah, that's right, Alfonso has E.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is H on one?
Yeah, 2 by 2s if possible, but it's okay if it's a team of 3. Yeah, do you need a partner?
Oh, no,
He's with his parents.
Oh, you're with your parents, okay. Yeah, 2 by 2, 3 if needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Angie.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do A and B, so we just need H as the last one.
I can try H. Because I have time. It'll just be some driving. I can do H.
So H is
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is just for today. I mean, if we can,
It'll give me a chance to drive a little bit.
So if you're going down the one on the right, you can go straight across the 75.
Double up.
Okay. Is it nice? Kind of a nice drive?
Yeah, it's countryside. Okay. Yeah, between.
yeah. Right.
Well, what you might want to do actually, it's off the screen. come back 169, come back this way a little bit, towards the church, and then go over, because not every street
No,
from
they're
this side
sorted
makes
by,
it to 75. Sometimes they
you know,
stop,
zip code and,
like a mile short of 75.
Use my Google Maps.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'll do H.
you're gonna do H?
Yeah, I'll do H, and I'll just pass off those to whoever can do them.
so do you need one of these?
Yeah, thank you.